So we're going to take you through the process of using the Shopbot router to create block prints. So we're starting with a logo that Kevin found, and we scan that in, and so we have the image on the computer, and I'll just take you through the steps of how we take that image, we trace the bitmap to make it into a vector form, and then can use that to create the toolpaths and cut it out to make blocks like you see here, two different ones to do two different colors, and then actually go through the process of block printing. Is that we have foam cut to 6 by 6, so we need the jig that accommodates that. So this is that jig. These pegs fit into these two circled holes, so you just put them in like that, push them down, and then you screw in the screws. Okay, so as you can see here, here's the picture that we have scanned in. So what we do is we open Aspire, create a new file. The width is 24, this is all correct. The thickness of the blocks is typically about 0.75 inches, but you can check that and change it as you need. So you say okay. So the first thing to do is to import the picture. So you say import bitmap for tracing, and I have it in the downloads folder. So here it is, open, and there it is. So what we do is we want to trace this bitmap, which is this button right here, this little bird, so that we fit vectors to it. So if you recall, the picture itself is in color, but it's only two colors, so you can actually do it in black and white, or you can use colors and choose very few. So we can do colors, but it's very hard to trace it when you have this many different colors to fit vectors to, so we'll decrease it down to the main three that it has, which is the blue, the red, and the white background. So we'll fit it to the blue and the red, and as you can see, it looks pretty good. We preview it. That's what it looks like. Got a little bit of noise out here, but we can get rid of that later. It looks like all the vectors are continuous, which is important. So it looks good. So we'll say apply and close. So now we've traced it, so we can actually go and group all the vectors and move it out of the way, so we can delete the picture, and there's our traced bitmap.
Right there.
Now in vector
So
form.
you're here still.
So we want to get rid of all this noise. So kind of the easiest thing to do is to first ungroup.
Okay.
There we go. And we could go through and individually click all of the things we want to get rid of, but that takes quite a while. What's faster is to just select everything and then deselect what we want to keep. So we want to keep all the details of the wrench and the hammer. So we'll deselect those. And the outer edge. And then the rest we can just delete. So now we have a clean picture of the wrench and hammer, and it kept all of these little bits from the scanned image, so we'll just get rid of that. Okay, so now we're ready to put it in the right location to cut it out. So first we need to draw a rectangle. You can draw it anywhere and then specify it after. The bottom left corner for these 6 by 6 pieces should be at 1.5 and 1.5. And the width and the height are both 6 by 6, because that's the specification of the foam we're cutting out. So you say apply, and close. So now it's in the correct location if we were to cut it out within this box. So we want to create a bit of a border for ourselves to ensure that we don't cut the jig. So we'll put an offset on. Outwards would go out. We want it to go inwards by 0.3 inches offset. So now we make sure we'll cut within this smaller box to make sure that we don't hurt the jig that we've set up. So now we can move this over to be inside the rectangle. We'll group it again to make it easier to deal with. We'll make it a little bit smaller so it fits inside. Great. Okay, then if you want to be sure that it's centered, you just click the object you want to center, click the area you want it to be centered to, in this case this square, and click Align Selected Objects and Center. So now it's all centered. So now we're ready to set it up to do the toolpath we want. So what you'll notice if you try to do it with all of this is that this double border here makes it very difficult to cut out this area. It'll only cut out this in-between edge. So we're just going to get rid of this inner material. So if we ungroup, we will get rid of these intersections. So we just have the outline of what we want. I'll show you this a little bit later. I'll leave this in for now so you can see what happens when you don't get rid of it. Okay, so here's the Switch to Toolpaths tab, which we're ready to do, so we'll go ahead and switch over. So now we can see all the different toolpath operations. And we're gonna do a V-carve. So we select the wrench and the hammer, and we select this outer wheel, and we select this outer inner border. And what that's going to do is it's going to cut out all the material between the border and the wheel, the gear, making the gear raised up, which is what we want for this first block print. And we want this wrench and hammer to be down. So right now it's going to cut out this material. This material between the wrench and the hammer and the gear is going to be raised, and the hammer and the gear itself should be cut into. So if we do a V-carve, flat depth of 0.12 is good. We use the V-bit 90 degree 0.5 inches, and you can go into it and look at the dimensions. Since I just ran this, I know that these, I believe, are correct. At least for foam, you have a little more leniency, but you can look back at the tutorial that we did to ensure that you have the right spin speeds and feed rates and all of that. Okay, we're going to use a flat area clearance tool first, and what that's going to do is it's going to clear out kind of this extra material that we're cutting away much more quickly than we could with the V-bit. So I just ran through this with someone else, and we did without the flat area clearance tool, just using this V-bit. It took about 28 minutes to carve this out. Using a flat area clearance tool, it takes about 5 minutes because it can clear out so much faster with the end mill first. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use that. We'll just say calculate. So now it's going to show you a preview of how it's going to cut, which is very useful. So we'll say preview selected toolpath. We've got our pocket, which is just the flat and clearance, and then the actual V-carve. So if we preview it, it shows, oops, that's just showing the current one. I'm going to reset the preview and preview all toolpaths. So first it's going to clear it out, as you saw there, and now it's doing the V-carve bit. Okay, so that's pretty close, but if you remember earlier, I said if we didn't manipulate this nut, that it is going to look a little weird, which it does, because we didn't take out that outer border. So that's what the whole thing would look like. It would only cut out this small border around it and not actually clear out the material inside. So we're going to go in and we're going to get rid of this outer border. So we're going to get rid of, I think, this outer circle. There we go. And this outer border. So now, if we recalculate it, then we group that, and this, and we do a new V-carve, calculate, reset the preview the pocket first, so preview selected toolpath. There's the pocket, the flat area clearance is just getting rid of material, and then we preview our V-carve. As you can see now, we have what we want, which is this inside of the wrench, the nut raised up, because we'll lower that down in the next toolpath. So that's our first block. It's completely done. As you can see, this gives us our first color of just this gear on the outside, leaving this area blank, which we're going to raise up in the next one to add the second color. So if we go back here, we just want to make an exact copy of what we have here to the right of it, because as you can see in the jig, we're going to have one here and one right next to it. So we will select all of it and say create a linear array of copies. We want one row and two columns. I'll put one next to it on the right with no gap. It's going to be right next to it. So then we say copy, close. So now we have an exact replica of what we have here. This ensures that this also ensures that it is all properly aligned, so that we know that this is centered to the blocks and all of that. So we'll go back to the toolpath tab here, close, and now since we just want this part cut and raised up, we'll select all of that, and we'll select this outer border, and now it's going to cut away all the material around the wrench and the hammer. So we'll say V-carve. Again, we'll use a flat area clearance tool, which is going to speed up the process a lot. We'll say calculate. And so now we're at V-carve 3 and V-carve. We can actually rename these so that we can know what they are. So this is the hammer and wrench pocket, and this is hammer wrench. Okay, so if we reset the preview and we look at first the pocket, preview selected toolpath, there's the flat area clearance tool, clearing out the extra, and then we'll come in with our V-carve tool. It's going to cut, and you can see how if you zoom in, this is raised up from the background, and that's what we want. So when we take the paper and if we preview all of our toolpaths, I think these ones we don't want anymore, so we'll delete them. Zoom out a little bit. Reset the preview. Preview all toolpaths so we can see all of the different ones we've created. So you can see now, if you imagine putting some paint on this block and putting a piece of paper down, you're going to have just the gear with an empty space where the wrench and hammer are. And then if you put paint on this wrench and hammer and align the same piece of paper onto it, you'll add the second color perfectly aligned to the gear. If you want to ensure proper alignment, you can also add drill holes to the top. But I'm not going to do that now. Okay, so now these are all ready to go. So what we'll do is we'll save the toolpaths. In general, in Aspire, if you want to get a broad idea of how long it's going to take, you can click on this button. As you can see, it's estimating about 4 minutes total to do the pockets, and about 10 minutes, 11 minutes to do the V-carve. So pretty fast. If we hadn't added those pockets, it would take over an hour. So we will save these pockets. So both the pockets use the 1/4" end mill, that's what we set it to, and both the V-carves use the V-bit. So we can save our pockets together. So click both of those and say Save Toolpath. It should be Shopbot arcs inch.svp. So you say Save Toolpath. And we'll call it wrench and hammer pocket. Save to the desktop. Save. Then we'll save our V-carves. And we'll call that wrench and hammer V-carve. Save. Okay, so now we're ready to transition over to the Shopbot controls. So you open Shopbot 3 here. The first thing you want to do if you're using it for the first time of the day is warm it up. So you can go to Cuts, and C5 does the spindle warm-up routine. It's a 9-minute routine where you start at the controls over here at 100. So you would just crank this down to 100. And you start the warm-up routine, run it for 3 minutes, crank it up to 200, run it for another 3 minutes, crank it up to 300, which is its max speed, then you're all warm. So we've already done that. So we'll bring it back down to 200, which is a good speed for cutting foam. Okay, so as you can see right now, it's currently loaded with the V-bit. So we're going to take that out and replace it with the 1/4" end mill because that's what we're using first. So use the chuck keys to open it, which can be a bit of a hassle with magnets. There we go. Take out. Take it out and put in the 1/4" end mill. And tighten that back in. And then you want to load in the foam. Oh, nope, they're both useless.
Oh. In the box, right? These are blanks right here. Oh, here's one.
Yeah, either way. So we align it. Bottom left. And then secure them into place using these blocks. So you should just fit into place. This one is a little loose, so add in a little bit extra material. There we go. Still pretty loose. Sometimes you have to play with it a little bit. We lost the actual.
This has risen up a little too, do you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Normally when you do this with wood, you can hammer this down, so it's a little bit trickier with foam. Probably because it's also
Yeah.
straight. I'm guessing that these are not perfectly cut to 6 by 6. Try a couple different pieces. Again, it's a lot easier with wood. They're not as pliable. Let's see if that's a little bit different height, which could be a little tough to deal with, but we'll see. So it's going to be able to move. This might be pretty good. Okay, they're a little loose, but I think it should be okay. Ideally, you don't want this gap here, because you've told the computer that they're going to be right next to each other, but we'll see what happens. So to move the controls for the Shopbot are right here, this big yellow button. So first, since it's so low, we want to move it up a little bit in the Z direction. So you can see it's moving until it's higher than that. Looks pretty good. So the first thing you do is zero in the X and Y, which is this button right here. And it will automatically zero itself in the X and Y direction. Okay, so tool now zeroed in the X and Y. Great. Then you want to zero it in the Z, but to do that we want it to be over the phone, because we want Z0 to be on top of the phone. When you're dealing with foam, it can be a little tricky to figure out where you want to zero it. Usually I aim for the lowest point because they're not typically uniform. These are relatively uniform, so I'll just zero it at this point. So what you do is you place this clip on two of the grooves right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And place this plate underneath, and it's good to check and make sure so a current runs through, and that's how it detects it. So you check right here with this green input button. When I tap it, the one appears, and that's good. If you don't have a good connection, it won't notice stop, which can be dangerous. So then you click this Z button. That's how you zero it. went above the plate and ready to zero. We are ready, so we say okay. We just hold this steady and it. Alright, so it says zeroed. Remember to remove the alligator clip and put away the plate. So that's what we'll do. And now we're ready to go. The Shopbot is all set up. We've saved our tool paths. So it can be a good idea first to just make sure that the tool paths look good. So here they are on the desktop where I saved them. So first we're doing the pockets. We'll open it up. You can see that it goes right to 2.36. That's good because we know that the bottom left corner is 1.5, 1.5. So 2.3, 2.4, that's a good starting point. It looks good. So we come here, we say cut part, and we choose the part we just saved. So that was, I believe, wrench and hammer pockets first. We say open. So it's all loaded, so we'd say start, but first we'll just put on the shield. Okay. Now we say start. So it says click OK to start it, turn it on, and you say OK. So it's a good idea to be ready to push stop in case something goes wrong as it starts up. That looks pretty good. So it's going to just cut out the flat area. we'll vacuum it up a little bit, switch up the bit, and do the V-cut. Switch out the endo. This is the V-bit that we'll use. The last thing we need to do before we cut again is re-zero the Z. So we'll move it into position again, roughly to the same spot we zeroed it before. Attach the clip, test to make sure it's a good connection. Apart, and now we're doing the wrench and hammer V-car. Open. Replace the shield. And say start. Okay. Make sure it gets off to a good start. feedback.
So we're going to add the registration holes by drawing a circle?
Yeah, so we're going to, So we start by
Okay.
drawing a circle because it's where we're going to drill. We're going to make the diameter a 1/4 inch. Apply. And we're just going to move it down to be within the area. And let's see, we want them to be 4.25 inches apart. So again, we'll do a linear array of copies, but this time we'll do a gap of x is 4.25 copy. Okay, so we just need them to be within the area. And then what we'll do is we will copy this whole thing onto the other one. So we'll do another linear array of copies, but now the gap is 0. Oh shoot, no, we need to use the outer one where the gap is 0. So we'll do the holes and the outer, so that we'll just copy it over to the right. So linear array of copies, gap of 0, copy. So now it should be exactly equal on both of them. So now we go back to the toolpaths tab here. We're going to do a drilling toolpath. So you click that, click on our 4 circles. The cut depth 0.5, that's fine, that should be plenty deep. We'll use the 1/4 inch end mill. We'll just call it drill 1. So we'll calculate, and if we again preview all tool paths, now we have the holes in place there. So what you can do is, we've gone through the whole process, but you can just add this on when you save the tool paths. You add it onto the pockets because it uses the same tool, and it'll just do that.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll switch out and put back in the end mill. So now again, we just need to re-zero the Z. So we'll go back to the Shopbot. It up. Ready to go. So we just need to save the drill 1, save. All right. Bench, drill, save. Part. Drill, open, start. So we'll do glue first. So we need one of the rollers.
Oh, you need a roller thing? I don't know where those are.
So we'll take a little glue. Spread it out so it's not super grainy. Then you roll it onto here.
Yeah, but if it's their own name, they'll stick around. Yeah.
You would think. But then the other kids get angry. Why don't they get to do their name? And why can't it happen right now? This was a little wet, so might be a little.
Well, we'll have one on hand if their name is Allison or Catherine or, you know.
The only kids that can participate is the one that
Anybody here named
Luck
Catherine?
of the draw.
Yeah.
All right. Catches to make sure. Oh, we have the hole, so it is aligned. So used to it not being aligned.
Putting the holes in is so worth it.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I mean, it's like, certainly if you're going to do a bunch of posters, you'd want it.
Yeah. But you want them a little better aligned than I have them right now. It's gonna be like a jet.
So it wasn't really 4 1/4, huh?
No. Well, also, it's also not exactly a quarter
The whole
inch.
size.
The hole.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have like a weirdly sized end.
Yeah, well, we can figure all that out.
We can figure that out, yeah.
We'll get that.
So slightly off of that, but pretty close.
Look at the effect, too. It's kind of cool.
Nice.
You get the texture from just the foam has little grainy